For joining us on our Designing Prosperous Token Economies podcast. And we're super amped to be speaking with Ryan Kim from Motley Labs. For everybody's benefit, I will just quickly give an intro to Consensus and everything we're doing, Consensus Mesh, and then hand it over to Ryan to do the same. And we'll dive right in then to the actual meat of the conversation. So if you're not familiar, Consensus Mesh is kind of one half of the, what previously was a single organization, Consensus, and we conduct all the investment and portfolio management activities. We have a accelerator called Tachyon. We make direct investments into early stage Web3 companies. And we also have a phenomenal R&D team that does really great technical work with various projects across the space, working with Filecoin, working on, with the Ethereum Foundation on some of the low-level actual consensus mechanisms for Ethereum. So it's a ton of really deep kind of low-level work that's incredibly important being done by them as well. And so my role at Consensus, just by way of introduction, Thomas Rush, partner at Consensus Mesh. My role is focused on those areas, primarily the new investments and portfolio management piece, but also token design, our token treasury, our token portfolio itself, and working with portfolio companies in that vein. And so had actually just conveniently been introduced to Ryan, who is launching a project, who is working on token design, who is doing all of these things all at once, and he's in the weeds on it. So thought it would be really edifying for myself and for the space to learn from him and everything he's working on, and turn that conversation more public facing. So Ryan, I'll kick it over to you for a quick intro.
Awesome. Thanks, Thomas. And hey, everyone, really, really grateful for the opportunity to be here. My name is Ryan. I am helping steward and found a DAO called Motley Labs. And what Motley Labs is really a global consortium of builders, entrepreneurs, developers, creators, primarily in the Solana ecosystem. And Motley Labs' mission is really to work with all the great core primitives and technology that's built on Solana and work together to build community-owned super applications. And so our first product is called Nightmarket. To the end user, it'd be an NFT marketplace, but what it really is a super application that can do anything NFT related. And so for consumers, it's kind of a one-stop shop. But the idea is that this is not a centralized good. It's actually built and powered by Genesis Go, Olaplex, Cardinal, Project Dolphin, Dialect, Notify, and all of our great technical partners. Because our belief is that really to get mass adoption of Web3, the big thing that we need to do is actually create relevant user applications that kind of abstract away all the blockchain technology and just speak to consumer needs. And so our focus is to build out Nightmarket and build out other great products that help drive mass adoption of Web3. And we're backed by Solana Ventures, Big Brain Holdings, Coin Fund, as well as a bunch of other technical partners who have contributed resources and technology to our efforts.
Awesome. So just to kind of like level set and get us all on the same page in terms of the clarity of the relationship between all the different entities you just mentioned. At a high level, Motley Labs is the kind of, for lack of a better term, and apologies, I know this isn't how you refer to yourselves, but kind of almost a product studio building these products. Mm-hmm. Nightmarket is the first product you're bringing to market, and then the other partners, are they kind of partnered with you at the Nightmarket level or at the Motley Labs level?
It all kind of, I think your description was super, super spot on. The Motley Labs is the overarching DAO that governs the technology that's built out. And so Nightmarket is one of those products. And so people who are looking to collaborate with us would most likely be collaborating with us for Nightmarket first, but within the DAO. And our DAO is tied together through the governance token sauce, which is, I'm sure, something that we'll get into today. And the long-term vision of what we really see is that this consortium of governance bodies in terms of Motley Labs DAO actually builds out what we believe can actually become a super protocol of the various technologies, infrastructure, tooling, and services that we're collaborating with. And it's, for now, the working name is called Sauce Protocol.
Yeah, perfect. And so, I mean, we're both, deep in Web3. So there's some of the kind of like assumptions I would make about why you're doing things a certain way, but I also want to double click on those elements and make sure I fully understand them as well. So I guess that leads me to the question of, I guess, why are you building things the way you are, in the sense that you're working with this decentralized network of partners? You're obviously using a token to incentivize certain behaviors. Like,
Mhm.
just give me the kind of, like, again, high level introductory view on why you've chosen this approach to building products and solving some of the problems you're solving.
Yeah, so it's really spurred from the time that I've spent in Web3. Just a little bit of background on myself. I was brought onto Web3 by actually one of my university professors who I connected with during my time at UC Santa Barbara. His name is Matthew Stotts, and so we stayed in contact way after I graduated, even as I was working on some other startup ideas. And he eventually started to talk to me a little bit more about Web3, get me on board, and told me that he was starting a project called Olaplex. And so, after some premonition, he recruited me to actually start as the first BD lead at Olaplex. And a lot of my job was actually going around to all the Solana hacker houses across the world, right? Across all the major metropolitan cities in the US, went to Barcelona, just got back from Lisbon, and during that time, I found that there were so many great developers and so many talented people in the Solana ecosystem who are working on really hard problems, just like Olaplex was. And I thought, wow, from a very simple value proposition, I was thinking, why don't we all just kind of work together on something? Because it felt like even though these were all really intelligent people working on big problems, sometimes there were multiple groups trying to solve the same problem. And so the big need that I saw was really an opportunity for collaboration and coordination amongst all these great technology partners to actually build applications that drive value back down to all of us. And so in June, I had the opportunity to spin out of Olaplex, Motley Labs, the DAO. And so recruited all the technical partners and finally had an opportunity to say, hey guys, I know we were all kind of working on the same protocol level infrastructure layer. Now we're building out applications that can kind of drive value back down to all of us. So it's a really easy proposition. And I think that for us, it's really about not reinventing the wheel. It doesn't really make sense for me to build out a messaging protocol when there's great technology companies like Dialect, Notify, Based that are all working on that problem, right? It doesn't make sense for us to build out another staking protocol when there's Floppy Labs and there's Cardinal. And so for us, it's really about composability, being able to take all these existing pieces and mesh them into one super application that really does drive all the value back down. And yeah, that's the basis of why we chose to coordinate versus rebuild.
Great. So, and that's like the perfect segue in a number of ways. You touched on a few things that I want to, like, kind of connect the dots on. I mean, one, transitioning, beginning to transition towards the token model of what you guys have worked on and are working on. I'm a big fan of the hyper simple model of, in order for a good token model to actually work in the real world, you obviously need demand for the product and the protocol that it represents, right? And I think it's why L1s are kind of a canonical example of a great token design, because there's often demand for just using that network, and it starts there. Whereas in the world of DeFi summer, sometimes demand for that product was secondary to just spinning up a token, and the token was first, and there was yield farms and all the rest for everybody who's involved in that. So you guys, tying it back to your kind of origin story, you wanted to do that. You didn't want to reinvent the wheel in terms of how you approached it, but then connecting it to kind of why Nightmarket needs to exist. Could you talk me through kind of the value proposition of Nightmarket, or kind of the niche in the market that you see it filling, and why you chose that as the first product coming out of that origin story?
Yeah, so Motley Labs is, the goal of what we're trying to do is solve big problems, right? And so for us, as a go-to-market strategy, we took a look at the market and we tried to identify what is a missing piece of the Solana ecosystem that we can build as kind of a demonstration of the coordination of all these great protocols while also serving a market need. And what we saw is that, on Ethereum, there's all these examples of community-owned marketplaces or community rewarded marketplaces. There's X2Y2, LooksRare, Blur. But on Solana, there wasn't really anything that had caught market share. And so for us, there's great products like Magic Eden and Hyperspace, but we wanted to introduce a community-owned alternative because really we think that all the means of NFT commerce and infrastructure should be decentralized at some point. And so for us, we thought a community-owned marketplace like Nightmarket has a really great value propositions. Like first off, for all the builders in the room, Nightmarket is open source from day one. And so we believe in, when I say composability, we want other people to fork or build on top of our repo so that we can continue to gain these network effects of building on our technology. Second of all, the users, we recognize that creators, collectors, they're the ones who are really driving all the value into any sort of two-sided marketplace. And so very kind of like a tenet of Web3 is community ownership. And so as you earn, as you contribute, as you trade on Nightmarket, you're going to be earning our governance token sauce. And then third, we really want to make a great user experience, right? A great product. And so for us, when you're almost thinking about all the different Lego blocks that go into an NFT marketplace or an NFT infrastructure tool, we just took a look at the landscape. And like I said, from all the hacker houses I've been to, there's I have friends in every vertical that I can just call and say, hey guys, we're working on Nightmarket. It makes total sense to plug you guys into our technology stack because you have a great staking mechanism, you have a great auction house protocol, and so for us, it's kind of like a giant Solana group project. And so yeah, we believe that builders will support the open source ethos that we carry throughout everything we do. And we also believe that users will be really delighted to have a great product experience and actually get aligned with the product because they're as they own it, as they use it, they're going to own a piece of it.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I like what you said about you actually almost want people to fork your code base, the Nightmarket code base, and kind of that front end because it still drives value back to the protocols and tools that kind of underlie the Nightmarket market, and that is great because somewhat delivers on the original Fat Protocols thesis, which was I forget 2018, 2016, long ago, and I know there's constant debate about whether or not that actually will fully ring true, and I don't, of course, think it's a black and white element, but as we've seen, lots of value accrue to protocols over the years, and so you guys delivering that value to users is fantastic because obviously you can do it in the best way possible. If somebody else comes up with a better front end or whatever the case might be, it's a really excellent approach. I mean, I think at least in terms of giving users the choice in terms of how they use that protocol.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that you brought up the Fat Protocol thesis because during the bull market, especially over the past year, we saw a lot of these protocols come up on every blockchain, right? It was like we're going to build this massive protocol and we're going to open source it, and then we're going to just have developers come and build on top of it. And it was kind of like a if you build it, they will come mentality. But what we saw was that actually inherently didn't end up happening. And what ended up happening was that decentralized entities ended up shipping faster or shipping like a direct product for user needs, and they were able to gain a lot of traction that way. And then so for us, we believe that bringing well thought out, well intentioned applications and relevant applications to user needs and incorporating open source protocols, fat protocols, thin protocols into the ecosystem of the Motley Labs tools that we build out is kind of the direct way to get adoption, right? Users may not even know that they're using Genesis Go. They may not even know they're using Olaplex. They may not even know that they're using the Motley Labs repo. But what that inherently does is, drive all that value back down because those are the protocols that are powering all the applications that we build.
Yeah, love that as well. Yeah, big fan. I mean, I always use the metaphor of you don't go to a website and you don't inherently know that it's being pulled from AWS or at Microsoft Azure. You don't care. You just want to go to the website. So then going one step further into the token model element, we're getting a better sense of why you chose Nightmarket as the first product, what value kind of that brings to the ecosystem, particularly in the Solana ecosystem, the community owned nature of it, etc. So now diving into Sauce, the token, and kind of getting more narrowly focused there, because what's the reason, raison d'etre for Sauce, meaning like the behavior that you're trying to incentivize through Sauce, and then we'll obviously connect that to some of the token design decisions you've made as well.
Yep. So Sauce is inherently a governance token. And so all the fees from Nightmarket, all the tools that we build out, they're all going to be governed by the DAO. And like I said earlier, the DAO does include investors, early participants in the Motley Labs network, technology partners, but it also includes all the users, right? And so as you're using Nightmarket or as you're contributing open source PRs to our technology repo, you're actually going to earn sauce token. And so you're going to have a say in the greater network and the future product strategy of Motley Labs. And so I think that that's a really important thing that we want to incentivize is more and more as the network grows, it's going to become more and more decentralized. And this group is going to be the one that actually informs open source standards in the future. It's going to be the one to actually be. Oh, did we lose Thomas? All good. Cool. Yeah, looks like we're taking a quick break. 2 minutes.
Hey, Ryan, sorry, I'm back.
Hey there.
My Chrome crashed. So,
All
and
good.
I think we're live back. Okay, so I'm glad that was not too long of a return time for me. So apologies, my Chrome interrupted you. I'll let you finish that thought.
No, all good. I was just basically to summarize it, I was just saying that the sauce token is a governance token, and it accrues value just by the nature of continuing to build great products and relevant products to the network. And so there's definitely a lot of really great ways that we can propose token accrual value. But at the end of the day, it's not my say. As a decentralized network from day one, really the people who are driving value of sauce token are going to be the community holders who vote on different utility mechanisms. There's definitely some proven models which you and I have discussed of accruing token value, but that's really up to the DAO at the end of the day.
Yeah, fantastic. I mean, right. So it's a user owned, to your point, it's kind of recursive or circular in a sense of it's a user owned network, user owned product and DAO.
Hmm.
And as a result, they can both extract or accrue value from participating in it, but at the same time determine the path in the future, which is fantastic and kind of the holy grail, I think, of Web3 overall, and
Hmm.
part of the things that you're working on. So then going one step further, I guess, were there specific token design decisions that you made that you felt really helped you achieve or kind of shortcut to that end goal in the sense of, you've mentioned whether it's the fees that are accrued by the marketplace and how they accrue, like you obviously
Hmm.
still need to set the table for that user owned network. I guess
Hmm.
what were some of the decisions that you guys both thought through and then made in order to make it attractive to users to kind of kickstart that economy?
Yeah, for us, we really like the airdrop model of, as people are early adopters and contributors to the network and helping, drive that initial user base, whether you're a developer or you are a trader, like an NFT degen, we wanted to really reward those initial users. And so part of our token distribution plan is to actually issue those sauce tokens as an airdrop for the initial user base. And so as Nightmarket launches, by by the end of the year, we're going to actually do a token airdrop. And so for a certain amount of time, we'll be able to see who's trading on the network, who's listing, who's contributing open source PRs, and we're going to reward those groups with a pretty sizable airdrop of the sauce token. Um,
Fantastic.
other
Yeah.
other things that we thought about that we know that sauce eventually we want it to become the governance of the entire sauce protocol, meaning all the technology partners that integrate their APIs and SDKs into our tech stack. But for now, we also want to keep it pretty relevant to the user base. And so I think that the utility of sauce token will evolve from just being a governance token of the Motley Labs repo as it is today to eventually being much larger in terms of the governance of what you are actually managing. Kind of like Gitcoin is a really great example, right? Like the tokenomics and the usage of Gitcoin has really evolved over time. Some of the initial things you might be able to do with Sauce token are things like getting exclusive launchpad mints on Nightmarket, getting exclusive discounts on some of the services from our premium partner providers. But really, yeah, at the end of the day, it's a sauce is a governance token, and the community is going to vote on the utility they want to see for it.
And do you guys expect to raise funds or anything? And I'm honestly kind of asking this question almost from a investigatory place in the sense that like some communities, have felt burned by, all right, I invested into this project, I was a user of it, I got my airdrop, I've committed, X number of hours to the project overall. But then they realize that the investors of the project own 60% of the network, and then they're just going to come in and and sink both the price, but also potentially just steer governance however they want because they have such a heavy thumb on the scale. And so I don't mean to paint such a negative picture of
Mhm.
investors. I mean, we're one in the space and trying to change that image, of course. But at the same time, I guess, are you guys considering either the distribution to investors, and I imagine there might be a distribution to those technology partners that you've mentioned?
For sure. Yeah, we're working with both our investors and tokenomics leaders such as yourself to make sure that that distribution is fair. But you're not going to see 60, 50, even 40% of these tokens going out to our early investors. We really want to stick with at least 50. We're planning on 50 to 60% at least going to the community. And that includes, future users, future technology partners. If we launch an NFT collection, those NFT holders, and so we're trying to make it as equal and fair as possible. And even the investors that currently are on our cap table are like heavily invested in the idea of open source technology, and they'll be locked up for sizable amounts of time to make sure that we get the token distribution out to core users and core contributors, and we're tied for the long term.
Yeah, awesome. And then the other side of that coin, at least to some degree, is of course the legal elements of all of this. Considering it's probably mostly relevant for any founders or people considering joining DAOs, etc. But what is the kind of overall legal structure of the DAO?
So the DAO, from advice from our general counsel, the DAO is a Panama Foundation. So the Panama Foundation serves as a legal wrapper over Motley Labs DAO, and Motley Labs DAO is the one that governs that foundation. And
Gotcha.
the foundation and the DAO together hold all the technology, including Nightmarket and Sauce protocol.
Gotcha. And is there a for-profit kind of counterparty at all to this, like where you're either employed or, often there's a pairing of those two types of organizations. Do you guys have any of that in your structure?
Yeah, so it's not necessarily a for-profit entity, but kind of taking a look at how Solana Labs works with the Solana Foundation, we're we're taking some notes from that model and other successful ones that we've seen in the ecosystem. And so yeah, like myself and other core contributors to the Motley DAO will be part of a core operating team, which will have its own separate legal structure. But our intent and the only reason we exist is as a legal wrapper for full-time employees. But our entire mission will be to serve the Sauce protocol and service and benefit Motley DAO.
Yep. Great. Great. Cool. So then kind of connecting all of these things, at least to some degree, as much as we can in the short time we have. The token model obviously has some economic value. It's going to be, I assume, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it'll be openly traded on a market, assuming someone creates a secondary market for it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, have you guys thought through any of the secondary or second order effects of having a governance token that is, can be driven or controlled by players with large amounts of capital, in the sense that, if I'm a billionaire, I can go scoop up a whole lot of these tokens and then again put my thumb on the scales of the Motley Labs DAO and direct governance votes potentially. Like, how did you think about that versus obviously other models that exist that might be more reputation focused, or just all the other mechanisms that exist?
Yeah, so ours is a little bit of both, right? You're not going to be able to just, trade millions of dollars of volume on Nightmarket and control the network. You're not just going to be able to buy out all the tokens. And so for us, like, I think even more than just me telling you, I think that the thing that you can have confidence in is that we're going to have a council. And so our council includes some early investors. It's going to include some elected partners. We're following a lot of the models that we see kind of the larger protocols on Solana doing, with like Orca protocol now converting to a council token. We want to have, the greater user base of sauce token holders, as well as a council that's deeply aligned and is not profiting from the sauce network, but is deeply aligned in the open source motivations that we have. They're going to be the ones helping steward the DAO, creating proposals potentially for the community to vote on. And so it's always going to be very thoughtful and intentional and transparent the way that we make decisions. And at the end of the day, the full decision making power is up to the sauce community.
Gotcha. And so to double click on that, though, the council is kind of going to be responsible for, at least initially, making most of the proposals effectively to the community in order to, like, I'm trying to understand, is the goal of that really to take the burden off of the community? Because as we all know, not everyone has time to understand the full breadth of a project and then write proposals and understand the consequences of that proposal. Is that the goal, or is there other roles that council will play?
Yeah, I think it's definitely the stewardship. It's security. It's making sure that that decision of, or that action of, creating and stewarding proposals is delegated. I think a huge part of being able to scale is delegating correctly to the right people who have excuse me, who have the right intentions in mind. And so it's a little bit of everything. But yeah, the delegation to a council is really to decentralize, really to decentralize the decision making power. And really, it's not just going to be me, right? Like, it's not going to be me on the council telling the DAO that this is what we should vote on. Really, a lot of times I've been corrected by the DAO, and kind of from our council leaders and early investors, I've been, taught how to position the DAO in the best way. And so, it's really, the DAO, surrounding itself with the smartest people in the ecosystem to make sure that we are actually doing the best things in terms of benefiting the Solana network, going multi-chain, as well as, of course, the sauce protocol and its constituents.
Yeah. And so, and I'm sure this is, but since you mentioned it, I'm sure this is part of the ambitions of the project. But in terms of the multi-chain element, I guess, how do you imagine that playing out in relation to the kind of the token itself? If you have to have a separate token on a separate chain, and there's might be bridging and things like that. I'm making some assumptions here, of course, but how does that play out in your mind?
Yeah, so interestingly enough, you're seeing a lot of these multi-chain projects like DAO HQ, and then projects like Eclipse that are almost creating like a interoperability layer between Solana and Cosmos. And then you also have, the big brains over at Layer Zero who are building like this interchain or like cross-chain interoperability. And so I've had, very, very early conversations with the Layer Zero folk to figure out, like, if we were to go cross-chain and maybe repeat this model with the Ethereum infrastructure, like reservoir.tools, like we would figure that out with them. I don't claim to be the one to absolutely be able to solve the cross-chain interoperability issue by myself. But I have good faith in like the wormhole and jump folk, as well as Layer Zero, to help us figure out those solutions.
Yeah. Awesome. Cool. That makes sense. And correct me if I'm wrong, when we spoke previously, you had mentioned that there was possibly an NFT involved. Is that accurate?
Yeah, so we're taking a very, very measured approach with how we're going to do the NFT rollout, especially given how tumultuous and how crazy the market has been right now. We just want to make sure that we're aligning the utility as well as the price point and the token behavior, to be aligned with what the community wants and what we think can be strategic for the DAO. We do have an NFT and the art prepared. It's just about launching it and releasing it to the community at the right time. It was developed by a good friend of mine, MJ, who has his own creative studio with Nickelodeon, with experience at Nickelodeon, Cartoon Network, as well as Concept Art House, which is one of the premier Web3 studios in the ecosystem. And so it was really great working with them. I think when everyone sees the NFT art, they'll be really excited.
Nice. Cool. So I guess two questions. I think they're related. I mean, one is there a relationship between the NFT and the what I call in my mind an ERC20? And I know it's not the standard used on Solana, but the more fungible token. And then kind of a follow on to that is, so far we've kind of covered all of the things that you've gotten figured out, that you have a good path forward on. But what are the things, either for people listening or just for yourself to talk through, what are the things that you don't have figured out and that that are challenging and that will likely be challenging for the next team designing a token as
hmm Yeah, so the NFT will have some incentive tied to the sauce token. That's obviously up to us as a DAO to figure out exactly how those two assets tie together. We do have an initial proposition to potentially tie the investment into the NFT with staking for sauce token, but that is something that we're working out every day. As for lessons that we're trying to figure out right now, and things that are kind of up on our radar is really scaling the efforts, because I currently believe that the DAO or Motley DAO specifically has the opportunity to really be a decentralized organization of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people in the future. And so thinking 6, 12 months down the line, how does an organization scale, and how do the governance mechanisms scale for, it's very different when you have 100 people in a DAO versus, let's say, you have 10,000, right? How do you make sure that decisions are made effectively while representing the community in a transparent way? That's that's something that any
Yeah, take your time. Yeah, and just to give you a moment too, I mean, it's definitely something we work with our portfolio companies with all the time. I mean, we were talking previously about Gitcoin, and they have a huge community, but at the same time,
Mhm,
and don't have a structure that's too dissimilar from yourself, right? They've got a DAO steward, which is effectively your council, and people can delegate
mhm.
those stewards. But I think the main problem they're trying to solve through that is scaling, right? Not You
Yeah.
can't expect 10,000 people to be on your forum every single day, and so there's a bit of the focusing. You want a lot of high context individuals making decisions because they have that context, they have that expertise, but at the same
Mhm.
time, you're allowing, ideally, as kind of a representative democracy here in terms of
Yep.
like individuals' values align with a certain DAO steward. If that steward can signal it to the public, obviously that's all the better, and everyone, in theory, wins out of that
Yeah.
game.
So really excited to continue our conversations, and any other like organizational thinkers or DAO leaders who have had to solve this problem would love to get in contact with you guys. Spoken with like the Zodiac Wiki and Gnosis Guild guys, Jahed, who has really helped out. Like that was a great resource. Your token wiki has been a great resource. And yeah, we're kind of in a uncharted territory, right? DAOs, I really do believe, will be kind of one of the more popular ways to do decentralized work in the future. And so, figuring out, we're really carving the path as we go. And even from all the DAOs that I've spoken with, it's like there's no perfect answer. But the most important part is having a community that's invested and willing to help iterate on this idea with you. Because at no point do I claim to be the smartest person in the room. I always try to surround myself with people who are actually much smarter than I am. And so I think that's continued to be a really great driving force for us, is finding really intelligent people who are invested in the ethos and love the idea of what we're doing. And that just continues to scale like a snowball.
Yeah, 100%. Uh, and you touched on this already. So kind of talk us through the exciting stuff, right? Like what do you have coming in the next 6 months? I mean, you mentioned launch of Nightmarket, which was of course a
Mhm.
huge milestone. Are there other, things we ought to look for, like us as, the folks who are spectators and or are going to be joining the DAO? What's the future look like?
Yeah, so most notably, yep, we're heads down focused on shipping Nightmarket. As Nightmarket is super compelling, just in my opinion, on the fact that it's a community-owned, open source, and tokenized NFT marketplace. A lot of our focus will be on, continuing to get great launchpad projects, getting great community leaders to support Nightmarket. We already have great leadership and advisors from a lot of the premier projects on Solana, and excited to continue to scale that growth. And then I think that as the operating entity, being able to scale out our workforce and both decentralized as well as within our operating organization, being able to get more and more firepower of the 10x developers, the great growth leaders to actually believe and work with us. Because what I really think is that Motley Labs, like you said, kind of as a product or a venture studio arm as well, has, a lot of the talent, a lot of the resources, a lot of the technology that is necessary to really take any application or any idea from 0 to 1. And so, just some of the ideas that I talk about with my friends, right? Like decentralized affiliate marketing, decentralized new forms of launch pads, all these different ideas that are coming to place that, they're telling me, and I'm like, wow, I can actually, help you guys build this really quickly. And so, outside of the night market, building additional applications, additional utilities that are tangential to NFT-fi, like the cross section of NFTs and DeFi. I think you'll see within 6 months, you'll see Nightmarket out or Motley Labs spin out at least 2 more additional products that will scale.
Oh,
And
wow.
so, yeah, and really focused on working with like the SPL governance folk on building like better DAO tooling. We just really want to be like a central source of, building out, decentralized tooling for the Solana ecosystem and moving further even into different chains in the future. I think that just that coordination effort and getting all these intelligent people in a room aligned under one governance mechanism and value accrual vehicle, I think that's just a super compelling idea. And the reason why DAOs have really started to take over my life and my headspace in terms of what I want to be doing in the future. And so, yeah, that's kind of what I really look forward to.
Yeah, fantastic. So I was gonna kind of start wrapping up, but I thought of one question, and it's a bit of a almost diligence question if I were to put my investor hat on. So
Mhm.
apologies, it's a kind of a challenging out of left field question. But if if I were looking at this from again investment perspective, one of the things that you often find when you talk to founding teams is you want
Mhm.
them to be focusing, of course, on any given project, right? And it's like, are you on this full time? Are you planning to
Mhm.
dedicate the next 5 years of your life to this, etc.? Um, and so I think it's interesting that you guys have chosen the model you have in the sense that Motley Labs is focused on night market, but also planning on launching other projects. And
Mhm.
considering there's obviously that time and resource allocation element, but there's also the token element. So sauce token
Mhm.
being at the kind of Motley Labs level and
Mhm.
potentially providing access to this network that involves multiple products. And I
Mhm.
fully understand the benefits of doing it that way, but one, potential kind of like cost or downside is that the tokens, the way that the token incentives work, aren't going to fit perfectly for probably every single product.
Sure.
And
Mhm.
so like if there's any sort of value dilution or again like fragmentation of either your attention or the voters and their interests may conflict, etc., the DAO
Mhm.
members, etc. I guess have you thought through any I guess either like token design mechanisms or just mechanisms period that may address that down the line, or is that something you plan on kind of like addressing it as it comes up in real time and working through because you then actually have some real world information available?
Yeah, so for right now, the DAO, like the way that people participate, we haven't really, gotten into any of the exclusive discounts or premium features segment just yet. Like the first value proposition of Night Market is that it drives value to the STOS token through the marketplace fees, right? The treasury is going to be 100%, like all the marketplace fees from Night Market are going to go to the treasury. And then the SOS token holders, including investors, holders, users of Night Market are going to be able to govern what to do with that. And so I think that a really powerful statement is that we know, the base level of what accrues value from the Night Market side. We know what is actually going to grow the network through the SOS protocol, and being able to coordinate all those functions. But over time, it's going to take like baby steps to get there. And so
Mhm.
the DAO will, let's say Consensus Mesh comes with an idea that, hey, we want to integrate SOS into one of our portfolio company products. Okay, cool. As a DAO, as a council, can we go through, the financial implications of that? Can we go through the opportunity from a biz dev and customer acquisition standpoint? Like those are decisions that I think will be made over time. And right now, it might not all be fully fleshed out, and I don't claim to have the full plan, but I think that over the course of a year, all these small decisions that we would have made, taking lessons from each and every decision we've made prior, will end up becoming like a really, really delightful ecosystem to be a part of.
Yeah, yeah, fantastic. I mean, and as we know it, the entire space is evolving incredibly quickly. So even if you had a detailed plan, it would be
Hmm.
written in stone. It would probably be changing in the next 2 weeks, anyways.
Hmm.
Yeah, fantastic. So I guess how can folks reach you, or assuming you want them to, if they're interested in the project, interested in launching their NFT collection on the marketplace, like any sort of integrations, etc. What do you suggest in terms of finding Ryan Kim and or Motley Labs out there in the world?
Yeah, the best place to start is either my Twitter or the Motley Labs Twitter, which is just MOTLEYLABS. And then that'll direct you to our Nightmarket Twitter as well as our Discord server. We already have like I think like 4,000 members who are participating, getting involved. And really like the things that I would really love to see is from this, if anyone's inspired by the mission of open source coordination of major protocols to build super apps. We're always looking for great developers, full stack back end developers. We're looking for great growth marketers, great business development people who are thinking like high level partnerships. And as well, just people who have experience with DAOs are the best people that we can learn from and try to predict the future of what Motley Labs might run into in terms of issues and opportunities. And so, if you are a DAO leader, would love to get in touch with you as well.
Nice, cool. Well, fantastic. I'll be jumping into your Discord and causing mayhem in there next week for sure. And then and thank you for joining us to talk through this. Would love to make sure we revisit your progress, everything you guys are building, because obviously we're kind of like right at the finish line as you guys are about to launch this project. So we'll make sure we'll loop back around so that we can like help celebrate the success once you get it over that finish / starting line, and you've launched the DAO, and we can kind of like track the progress in real time and see how the token design shakes out as soon as reality hits it, whatever the Mike Tyson line is in terms of everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. And I feel like token economies are right there. They're the boxer in that metaphor. Yeah, fantastic. Any closing thoughts or comments you wanted to share?
No, I'll just give a quick recap, right? Like Motley Labs is really a DAO for the people, and we're building community applications for the user base, right? And so we really want to embrace open source and the Web3 mentality of community ownership, collaboration, and composability. And so at a high level ethos, if anyone is interested or in learning more or interested in getting involved, we really do want to be a permissionless network. And so many amazing people have come out of the woodwork out of just having conversations like this with yourself. And I like to say that, we want to be continually like a very easy group to work with. And so, yeah, that's kind of a call to action to anyone who is interested in decentralized NFT commerce, decentralized tooling in general, built by open source advocates. And so, yeah, just really appreciate the time to share with your platform, Thomas. And yeah, great chat.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for joining, and thank you everybody for watching and learning more about Motley Labs and Nightmarket. We'll see everyone next time.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone.
Of course. Take care.